All right, everybody. We have you like Phil or Philip? What do you like to be called? Do you like to call
It
something
doesn't
else?
matter. You can call me Phil, Phillip, or Pip. Whatever.
All right, I don't know. I guess we'll go with Philip then. So I got Philip on here, and I tried to get some other people, but I don't know, technical difficulties, and we got a little bit of a time thing we got to worry about here. So we're just gonna have a quick improv session. We have no idea what we're gonna do just yet. So Philip, what kind of genre or setting do you want to try to have a little role playing session in?
Let's do something where we're exploring. Something dark and horrible perhaps lurks underneath these ruins, and this lone adventurer will be trying to discover just what exactly is emanating and glowing here late at night.
Okay. So you are in these ruins that have been toppled over by earthquakes in times past. There's columns and various just old tree roots that are growing through the various pillars and broken stonework, very elaborate things that have been ruined by time and weather. You're standing amongst these just piles of just even like dead vegetation have been blown over by past storms. You're on this just very small island in the center of the Pacific. Your boat is anchored on the shore to some trees, and you've wandered out here, and you're looking around. The salty breeze is on your face, and you see this just gaping hole in the ground, and there's this uneasy feeling about the place. There's no sounds of birds. You don't see anything moving. You haven't seen an insect crawling on the ground, and it's just a little unsettling.
I uh, I get down close to a tree. I pull up my canteen. I take a big swig. Glug, 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 glug. The water comes down my beard. It just completely wets it. I turn around and I look behind the tree, down into the gaping hole. Inside of my vest, I pull out a long, thin blade that shimmers in the light. I run
Oh,
it down the side of my face. Well, I guess it's time to get going. And I start to meander down into the cave. I stop before I get there. I pull out my lantern. A small pale orange light emanates from it as I start to enter into the cave. Roots are dangling down in front of me. A small white butterfly lands. I hit it and it takes off and blends into a cloud behind me. Being on a tropic island, it's really cold down here. I feel the goose pimples just run up and down my back. Like slugs are moving off to the side, and there's a dripping noise down deeper.
the only sound is the sound of the dripping. It seems to puddle up in places, and it's very cold on your feet. You see that there's scratch marks on the sides of this strange tunnel that you find yourself in. It seems that others before have been here. There's a packet of cigarettes that has lipstick stains on the ends of the butts, but they're haphazardly scattered and they look old. You don't even recognize the style or the brand. Whoever was here hasn't been here. It's been a long time since anyone has traveled down this corridor.
I I walk over to where the scratch marks are. I hold up the lantern real close, deep buried into the rock face. I pull it out. It's red, glistening, a human fingernail. I drop it to the floor below me. I pick up the pack of cigarettes. Shh, 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 shh. I can hear the cellophane. They're all waterlogged. I throw them on the ground.
In the corner, you see
Oh,
an old lighter. It's flipped open. Uh, there's a little bit of a smell to it. It has a stain of like black tar on the bottom of it.
what is this? Ugh. I set down my lantern and I go and examine it. Did you call it a black what?
Well, it's a lighter, and
Oh, it's
on
a
the
lighter.
yeah, so like a flip top metal lighter, and it has like stained human fingerprints, but it looks like it's like black tar that was on their hands as they were holding it.
I I peered closer to the fingerprints, and as I do, in the ridges, it looks like a maze, like the kind of maze that you run in with high hedges. And inside the ridges, it looks like there's a small man who's been trapped in these sticky fingerprints. I open it up. I try to light it. Nothing.
Doesn't work. It seems that all the liquid has leaked out onto the tunnel floor. In the distance, you see just a pile of what looks like hair, or it must be hair. You look to the left and to the right, but it's just piled there in this haphazard way that looks like violence had happened in this area recently. Maybe within the last hour. It's sopping wet on one side.
I take the lighter, I put it in my pocket, pick up my lantern. I move closer into the cave. I get down to the hair, pick it up.
It's dripping. There's some tar stains in the hair itself, and just on the bottom is just a chunk of just torn skin and flesh. It's wet. It's heavy.
Scalp vein. Throw it down. Pull back out my knife. Whatever's down here. It must be hideous. I look for footprints in the mud. Do I see any surrounding the area?
In right around this area, like at the base, like towards the wall of the sort of cave entrance, the cave walls itself, there's like slither marks on both sides that seem to match. It almost seems like perhaps four snakes had just moved their way down to this location, but there's nothing around the hair itself.
Hey, sir. Now, you see him. He gets down, and you see the land behind him from the cave, the mouth. And he looks over at these tracks and at the hair. He looks over at the serpent tracks and at the hair. I wonder, and he pulls the hair and the scalp real tight in his hand, and just the blood drips down between his knuckles. I wonder if they shed off this skin, like a snake sheds off its old form. And he squeezes, and a thick clump falls down. And he moves in, and he examines the trails that the serpents left. It's kind of iridescent. Small worms kind of move in between where the scales were left.
Further down, you'll see more chunks and more hair bits that are even hanging off the sides, like a small rocky outcliff. It's just sopping and just hanging there. Uh, as you move forward or look forward, it just looks like they're scattered in various places. And then the end of your light
And
reaches.
I can start to tell what was dripping here because as I walk, like the water's getting deeper and deeper in here. Starting to
It's
get
like
up. First, it's at my ankles, and my shoes are just soaked through. Then it's at my calves, my knees. And I don't mean to be making this noise trudging through when the lamplight is just scattering across the surface of the black water. And I just see, as I walk, like these hairs hanging down like vines and just moving over the surface of my face as I hold the lantern.
you hear the sound of crying or whimpering, perhaps, and it's echoing down the watery tunnel that you find yourself in.
I move against the wall, shelter the light. I close my eyes for a second. You're gonna have to steel yourself, boy. But I don't want to go into the darkness anymore. You're gonna have to steel yourself. My knuckles go white holding the lantern. And I hold it out as I bend the corner and see if I can peer into the face of whatever's crying.
Up submerged to her waist, there's a woman there. She seems like.
Okay, boss.
Wait, all done? Hold on a second.
I just need you to turn the thermostat down so that we can make sure that it shuts off.
Okay. You good? Sorry. So she's staring there, holding her hands on her face. She's just submerged up to her waist.
I move in. My black beard is coming down. It's full of dirt, hair, and grease that's I've moved through. My black coils move in front of my face. My shoulders kind of bounce back and forth as I get about chest deep into this water. I see her, but her hands are really pale and her fingers look unnaturally long. And I keep saying, Who are you? And my eyes get real big and my hand starts to tremble and the light shakes.
She'll put her hand down in the water and she'll grab hold of a chunk of flesh and hair, and she just sort of throws it and it slaps against the wall and just slowly just falls and splashes into the water.
And as it splashes into the water, I see these ridges move out of the surface of the water, like large seas, black seas. Behind her, I see these large swans. Why are you crying? Where did this hair come from? Why do you sit down here in the darkness alone, wallowing in this filth?
She reaches down and you hear like a tearing sound as she like pulls off part of her flesh right above her rib cage and just peels it off her arm. And she throws it at you.
When it hits me, I lose my footing and go deep down into the water. Above me, the lantern splashes. And I just see these bubbles go out of my mouth. And I feel these things move around my body. And they start coiling around my uncut toenails. Somehow they've gotten inside of my boots.
You feel a lurching sensation as your body is tugged forward towards the weeping woman, and you sort of feel yourself slam into a writhing pile of snake-like protrusions, and they sort of lift you up out of the water right in front of her face. And where before you could only see her hands covering her face, you've come up from beneath her, and she just looks down and opens her mouth, and just saliva starts to coat your forehead.
So there, on a pillar of serpents, being looked over by a woman drooling over top of my face, I close my eyes and I can feel like this mucus enter my nostrils, the holes in my ears and in my mouth, and I'm just trying to spit it out. But the more I spit, the more I open my mouth, and I feel it running down my tongue through my gums and into the back of my esophagus where it spreads in my throat. And I try to scream, but I just end up gurgling in this filth. Huge bubbles of mucus leave my mouth, and I start to convulse like some kind of epileptic in these wreathing serpents.
You feel the constricting tentacles and snake-like protrusions squeezing your thighs and your ankles, and they're just lifting you up towards your face. You perhaps try to fight it. You can push yourself back a little bit, but the face is there. She just starts to just stare at her face. Just more blood and saliva just starts to come out.
My hands grab around her skull and just push in tight. And I feel that the serpents come and break my fingers until it's only palms that I have against her face, like I'm holding her in a delicate embrace as she moves in closer, teeth dripping, pointed. And there's some kind of light that's moving up and over the water, like some kind of blooming algae that glows green in the light. And I see the horror of my face reflected in her teeth.
She quickly bends down and latches onto your cheek and just starts to gnaw at you.
Am I asleep? How long have I been like this? I see myself and I'm falling through these white clouds in a blue sky. I can hear the wind rush by me. I hear something high-pitched off in the distance. Ah! As I keep falling, it gets louder and louder. Ah! And it's like it's a scream, and that's when I realize it's myself screaming in the embrace of this woman. Ah!
Her crying has changed to a sort of just crazy laughter that's reverberating in the tunnel. And she spits the bloody chunk into your eyes, and everything has a crimson look to it, and you find yourself just hurled backwards. The tentacles just push, and your body flips over at end and lands face down into the water, and she just there's just waves now where she was.
I start swimming, but my body's crack and creak. I feel my ribs are broken and busting out of the side of my body. I see hand over hand and mechanical forms and strength just splashing through the water, trying to get up out of this cave. I see my fingers are pointed back at me in unusual positions, completely broken. One of my arms has been split in two and pulled apart like a chicken wing, and it just flaps in the water. I get up to the bank. My fingers clench into the clay and make these huge crawling marks. And I see my fingernails rip into the rock and tear off my hand, and I feel a tentacle move around my ankle and start to drag me back into the water. In slow motion, the light that's from the entrance of the tunnel vanishes on my face like a sun being eclipsed.
You see your boat as you're being dragged back, and there are 4 or 5 small naked children climbing over it, pulling at things and playing with things, and they all just look at you in unison as you're being pulled back into the tunnel.
My hand reaches out at them, my arm that's flayed and ripped in two. Help me! Help me!
You see smiles on their faces, and they start to jump on the boat. But they are quickly extinguished as the darkness of the tunnel takes over. You're feeling yourself pulled back through the rocky outcroppings, and the water is sloshing up against you. It's hard to breathe at times as you're being dragged. You're trying to spit out water, take some air in, and suddenly you're just hurled on this flat, just flat rock. And to your right, you see a rotten corpse of a person, and to your left, you see all kinds of items and books and shoes, as if they've just been piled up in a strange, haphazard manner. There's an old man in the corner who's just rocking back and forth, and he's gnawing on his fingertips, and he has blood all over his mouth. And she waits till I wake up. She waits for me. It's just rocking back and forth, singing, and then he'll just start humming. And your body is laying there, and you're staring up at him.
And that's when he goes into his shirt. He pulls out a locket. He opens it up. Inside is a picture of him and his daughter. The air that comes out of his mouth is so cold that it frosts the glass. He closes it, and as he closes it, the darkness fills his eyes. In session.
Sorry for the interruptions. I didn't expect those guys to do that, but
no. It was a good game. It went really dark there.
Yeah, that tends to be my the way my imagination works, especially when I improv. It's just like my go-to kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming, man. I know you got to run your game next, so I know we had a little bit of a time crunch there. But thanks. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. I'm definitely going to go back and watch this just so I can have more nightmares, because this was a very disturbing session.
You're welcome, I guess, maybe. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do more of these whenever I get little bits of free time. Yeah, whenever the ability comes to be able to do this kind of stuff, I want to try to do more of it. So
yeah, definitely. Think of me when you run them, because I'm always up for a game, man.
And great idea for a session. I was like, all right, what on earth is going on down there? I was just trying to figure it out. And yeah, that's what came to my mind. So hopefully that's what you had what was bouncing around in your head, which you wanted to explore. So
Yeah, definitely. Wow, the whole cave inside the island, and I knew things were going to get really bad when I found the clumps of hair.
yeah, that's usually a bad sign, I would think. Yeah.
Any normal person, upon finding the fingernail on the rock, would have been right out.
Oh, but it was more interesting that you were, explorer type guy, very adventurous and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, good luck with
hopefully we'll
your
have a
Numenera game
couple more
next.
people to bounce this hellish landscape off next time.
Yeah, I wish I could plan these more ahead of time, but so far it's been just solo games. But those are kind of fun too. I guess you get more focus. I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah, I think you
yeah, thanks for
definitely
playing,
do.
and good luck with your game.
Thank you very much. It starts here in a couple minutes.
Okay.
See you, man.
All right. Well, see you later.